Hello, and welcome to Reflections. I am Rom Gayoso, your host. So, first and foremost, thank you so very much for your being here with me and my guests. I know your time is very important, and I'm the guy who will make sure it is invested wisely. Today, we have two very smart people here with me today, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be a very fun show. Okay, so everybody's got some rules, right? Before I really get started with the show proper, I have to cover some rules. Okay, so let's get going. So we broadcast over a variety of different channels, and they have slightly different rules concerning the use of chat. Since we make a lot of use of chat, we need to pay very close attention to those requirements. So basically, the rules can be summarized as follows: be nice, be polite, be courteous, and there's just one very special golden rule: there is absolutely no hate speech allowed. By the way, the chat boxes are open, so please take a moment to familiarize yourself with the chat. It is called a chat box or a chat window, depending on the service you're using. Please do say hi and let me know where you're watching from. For our podcast listeners, please drop a comment on YouTube and I'll make sure to say hi. I do have a very special favor to ask of you. Since there are several chat windows running at the same time, it saves me a lot of time if you can please type hashtag ask. That is hashtag ASK in front of your question. This way, when I'm scrolling through the chats, I can immediately spot your question and pose it to the guests. There are several ways for you to submit a question. Of course, you can use the chat if you're online and live with us. You can also email me a question. Please email it to editor at imcimagazine.com. If you prefer to use the talk to text function, just text your question to 001 for the United States 480 544 8372. So privacy rules do apply. I will not save your text or your number. Once it is read, it is deleted. Okay, now we can move to the first order of business today, which is our agenda. Okay, so what are we doing today? First, I'm going to go through a brief introduction. Then I'm going to welcome the first guest, Mahesh Kale. He is the CEO of MR Accuracy Reports. Then I'm going to welcome Fouad Benyoub. Today he is here as a book author. And then you have time to ask questions during the show. But if you feel there's that last minute burning question, I have set aside some time in the end for you to ask additional questions. And then we're going to talk about the upcoming events. So you're going to have an idea of what kind of talks we're going to have on the upcoming shows. All righty. So let's do our introductions. Okay. So Reflections, we are the podcast and live stream partner of IMCI Magazine. You can find us online at www.imcimagazine.com. We are a publication in the United States under registry 2769-0008. We are a member of Edelweiss America Media, and our focus is on intelligence, competitive intelligence, market intelligence, economic intelligence, economic warfare, and a good chunk of the magazine is about foresight and future studies. Now, our vision is ready to bring diverse perspectives and voices to the debate. So, a few words about the topic of the show today. Market research and intelligence are really integral parts of the topics presented in the magazine. And today we have experts who will be helping us understand those topics a little better. They're very accomplished professionals and very senior in their organizations. We're privileged to welcome them today. In addition to running a research house, Mahesh does a lot of work in intelligence, and so does Fuad. Though today I promised I was going to talk about his book, which has a lot of insights, by the way. Oh, yes, on the right hand side, you can see the front cover of our current issue. And this time we're focusing on sensing. Alrighty, so let me pull some information about welcome Mahesh to the show. Hello, Mahesh, how are you?
Hello.
Good to have you here. Okay, well, before we get started, and I'm not
Hello,
sure,
I can't hear you.
can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
What about now? Can you hear me? I can hear you okay. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me? I can hear you okay.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you at all.
Yeah, I am on and I'm not on mute. So let me try taking myself out and bringing myself in. So hopefully that will solve the problem. How about now? Can you hear me okay? Because the mic says everything's fine. Audio says everything's fine. Can you hear me? I have audio as okay.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
I can't hear you.
Okay, can you try? I'll try taking you back and forth and see if it's gonna work. Okay. How about now? Can you hear me? Okay. I can hear you, but it seems that you can't hear me. Can you please I will chat you. Can you please check your mic? See, the audience can hear me. So the audience can hear me. I think it's the problems if
Wait.
the audience can hear me. I think it's in your mic. Can you look at the chat? You can't hear me at all? Oh, actually, your device is not connected.
Connected.
So the audience can hear us both.
Whatever. Disconnected. Oh, one second.
So the audience can hear us both.
Hello?
I'm sorry about that, guys. Looks like he's having some technical problems over there. He checked out. Hopefully, he'll be checking in soon. I'm so sorry. Let me try pinging him because we test everything. Apparently, I can hear him. You guys can hear me. You could hear him. It's probably his equipment. Let's wait to see if he can come back. I'll give him a few moments. I'm so sorry. He's back, but his devices are not connected. His camera and his microphone are not connected. Let me see if I can sort it out with him. Yeah, I think he's having some technical problems. I'm so sorry. Let me try switching him. Looks like number two is also having issues. Today is the day of the issues. Perhaps it's because it's after Thanksgiving. I don't know. Give me a moment. Hi there, Fuad.
Hello, how are
Uh,
you?
okay, surviving. We're having some technical issues here. Apparently, the audience can hear us, but nobody else can. So
No problem.
sorry about that. Looks like a little bit messy. So I'm gonna go back to the beginning. Let's make sure that Mahesh is okay before we can move forward. Mahesh, can you see me?
Yes, I can see. I'm really sorry. I don't know. There's some technical glitch. I was just trying to resolve that, but it couldn't. But now it's finally good. Can you see me
Okay.
now?
Yes, looks like people in the audience. So, Mateo, can you hear us both? All of us? Kai, Dot, you guys can hear us okay? I'm waiting for someone in the audience to respond. Looks like the technical difficulties. Okay, fine right now. So, Grant, thank you so much. Hello, England. Everything's fine now. So, I'm going to go back to the beginning so that I can introduce you properly. And we get rolling. Again, folks, sorry about the mess. Thank you. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Mateo. Thank you so much. I will go back to the first. So I'm going to introduce Mahesh. Now that he has introduced himself, I'll introduce him because I have a lot of things to ask. Then I'm going to go back to Fuad and we'll move on. Okay, so sorry about that. Let me put lots of people in the chat. Thank you so much for bailing us out here. So let me go back to our agenda slide. Let me say a few words about Mahesh. So Mahesh is the CEO of MR Accuracy Reports based in the UK. His firm offers a variety of market-related research and consulting services. His firm can help you make sense of what's going on in specific markets, produce SWOT matrices, profiles, industry-specific analysis, in addition to market sizing, forecasts, technology trends, and competitive intelligence. His reports cover a variety of industries such as IT, telecom, semiconductors, pharma, and manufacturing. So aside from work, he loves football, music, and traveling. So, Mahesh, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Good to have you here.
Same here.
Okay. So, before I get started, and I'm really not sure I'll get it right, but if I don't, please don't be upset with me, okay? So, Arsenal or Manchester United?
I think Manchester United.
Okay.
Anytime.
Nope, no problem. I said I had a 50-50 chance to guess over there.
I know exactly. Because
Okay.
of course I live in London, so for me it's always closer to me. And of course I've been a big fan of Manchester United, so
I was gonna say she's gonna say Arsenal, but let me try Manchester United just in case I'm off.
I know.
Okay, favorite band of all times.
Wow, I would say Take That. That's one of the old UK classic old band. Take That, Robbie Williams. I can't, that's one of my favorite band.
Okay, I have to make a note of that. I have to go check them out. Okay.
Take That. You should check it out. Because once I was there, out of 100,000, so 80,000 only women were there. So they are a big fan of Robbie Williams from Take That.
Okay, please drop that on the chat so everybody else and their mothers, if they care to, they can know what you're talking about. Okay, yeah. Favorite place to visit?
Wow, I would say Malaga.
Okay. Why is that special?
Because I really like the beauty of the Malaga, and they have like nice beaches and mountains. It's not just like beach and mountain, it's a sort of blending of that. And because I've been to a lot of countries all around the world, but the Malaga is one of the places really give me that impression that this is the place maybe in the future I might settle down in Malaga. Yeah.
Wonderful. Hey, we all have that favorite spot in the world that
I know.
We want to go to, right? Okay. So let me get started with the first question. And, we can't escape that really, the issue of the pandemic, right? So for most market research companies, what have been the impacts? So the impacts of the pandemic on you guys?
Yeah, so far, of course, the pandemic took a big toll on each and every industry, but especially on market research industry. The first thing I would say, the changes in consumer behavior, challenges to data and research collection, increasing digitization, automation, and the market research shift to the mobile. These are the major impacts we have been observed. We have been fortunate or unfortunate. We have been able to absorb this impact on the market research industry. So yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about going forward. The life in this post-pandemic world. So what will the market research market be, or how will it be different from what it is today?
Yeah, well, that's a really good question, Rob, right there. Because right from the consumer behavior, we did survey a lot. So 45% consumer they have changed their brand preferences. So you can just imagine how it has been impacted a big time to the people and the consumer behavior. And right, and if I talk about the data, right, the Google is going to remove their third-party cookies from its own browser on 22nd of January 2020. And on the top of that, there's another example to improve consumer policy and mitigate data access collection. Apple now going to use an opt-in, I would say opt-in consent to identify for the advertiser, which is IDFA. So it means so that iOS user, they can choose whether allow to the IDFA and collect it or spread across the different apps. And automation, of course, it's gonna be the repetitive taking surveys all the time, analyzing data. It's gonna be fully automated. Okay, and artificial intelligence and machine learning, it can easily process a large amount of data. Going further, the shift of the mobile, as mobile traffic continue to rise across the world, the market research industry must take an advantage of this landscape to provide another medium to extract consumer data. So these are the main differences or changes we can see going forward post pandemic.
Okay, wonderful. Let's talk a little bit about the risk profile. So how do you see the risk profile today? What kind of risks do you see?
From market research point of view, there are two risks at this point of time. The first is Google updates, because recently the Google found out that a lot of spamming has been happening. So research is now even for the market research companies as well as the provider, they are really analyzing their English websites, and each and every day they're reviewing the English content. So the Google update has to be there. So now the provider has to make sure they gotta come up with the unique content. Otherwise, they will just run out of their competition. And the second thing is quality, because when it comes down to quality, I'll just give an example: oil and gas, the rates, prices, it has been fluctuated all the time. So for our research team, it becomes so quite difficult to get the accuracy and impeccable data. So uh, so for that, we have come up with the different strategies. So then we know, okay, we can get the accurate data. So these are the risks over there right now.
Okay, we have a couple of comments and questions for the audience. First of all, we have a Chelsea fan here. So Danielle is saying, "Well, I'm not so sure about Arsenal or Manchester United either." So, okay, Danielle, I'll add that to the list. So, I do have a different question for you. So, we talked about what's new, what's changed, the risk profile. So, this comment is a little bit different. So, do you feel that the market research companies in general they have failed to predict the duration of the pandemic and the requirements for a post-pandemic demand for goods in general? So, did we not put enough calories into understanding what the next will be, or we just ignored it? So, do you think we failed, or how can we fix that?
I will come back to the researchers, because so there are different ways. So some of the competitors, I would say, they must have been failed to predict the right future, because our research team, they should know if whether they should go for the primary research or secondary, or qualitative, quantitative, triangular, top on top bottom or bottom up approach. So there are different approaches. So in order to get the predicted or the accurate data, so individual researcher, respective research team, they should know whether they should focus on particular strategy, particular research. Hence, there must have been a lack of accurate research. But then it's always dicey, because we give 90% accuracy of the reports, but then of course, as I said, oil and gas, it can fluctuate. But then we always make sure we give 95 to 96% of accuracy to the client, so then they can make their business decision in a better way.
Actually, that's a very good point. So, so what happened? Probably you had a lot of, turn out a lot of extra work because you had your analysis, right? And then pandemic happens, right? So, and you have, I don't know, thousands of reports. So what you do? You stop what you're doing and you went back and rewrote all of them. So how was life? Was it hectic, crazy? How was your daily life during the onset?
Well, it's get really crazy, but of course we don't go to the back. So where we have worked,
Hmm.
so then we really analyze the situation. Then we do. Then in that case, AI and ML, which is artificial intelligence and machine learning, comes in the picture, and also big data, because the big data will help us to collect and store data and analyze the data with no time. Hence, so right now, each and every market industry, they should adopt the cutting edge technology in order to stay ahead of the game. and always adapting new technology. It's always the best.
Okay. We tend to focus our attention too much on the established markets, right? So again, it's along the same lines of the risk profile, whether or not we miss the boat, whether or not we realize things. So what kind of trends do you see now in the emerging markets? So let's move from established to emerging markets.
Emerging. Wow, even that's one of the really good questions. So trends. So I will tell. Artificial intelligence can really dominate the consumer engagement. That's the first thing. The second thing I will definitely tell you. Again, artificial intelligence. They are enables to help get the accurate data within no time. And on the top of and along with the trends, I will definitely talk about the transition of the market research industry from to, because the back in days, if I tell you, data is scarce and expensive, but right now it's going from to data is plentiful and cheap. Okay. The second thing I will tell you, earlier the researchers they were focusing on attitude and opinion, but right now it's no more. We are focusing on two, consumer behavior. Then again, it's from asking questions earlier back in days. So if you see the trend right now, we are more into listening and observing to get the data. Okay. Again, from analyzing a single set of data, the earlier back in days we used to do that, but now that's not happening. Now we are synthesizing and multiple measures. Again, market researchers at the stage back in days, when it comes to stage, it means analyzing and gathering all the data, all the information. But now it's more or less from to see the transition is a DIY data, which is do it to yourself within no time. Okay. And even earlier, if you see the people are collecting and reporting of the facts, but right now, if you see the transition again, they are more into storytelling in the context of client business. So along with the trends, you have big data, artificial intelligence, then machine learning, and it has been really moving from to along with the trends, the transition it's happening at the same time. So which is really I'm really intrigued in terms of the future. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to remain on that note about technology, use of technology. So Harish from LinkedIn, he has a question for you. He wants to know how AI will impact research industry in coming days. So, what is the impact of AI in the industry on now and going forward?
Because AI will enable faster analytics and in terms of report creation, because the AI is might replace human, but not really. Because I will tell you, there's a reason. Okay, now Google they have just come up with the sensor booster technology, right recently. So the Google bots would know really if it's a human. When the research team they are doing survey, okay, the sensor booster technology of Google, they would know if whether it's a human or if it's a robot. If the mobile is moving, the technology would know it's a human or not. So AI is going to play a vital role in the upcoming market research industry.
And now even have the robots that talk, and now they have one that wanders around and says things and responds to you. And well, apparently, this is the way to go. I don't know. So, well, on that note, I want to change topics a little bit. So, talking about the future, right? So, what do you see in the future of market research? How will things be different? I mean, aside not the post-pandemic, but how will things be different going forward?
The future of market research industry is full of challenges and opportunity. Again, coming back to cutting edge technology, artificial intelligence and machine learning will enable faster analytics and report creation. Big data enable access to collect, store, and analyze data in real time. Transparency is going to play in the big picture because right now the research team and client they're going to have clear transparency, and client also would know how the data has been collected, it has been collected, and then they can trust the process. And also, the partnership is going to be a really important, significant role between again the researcher and client. And then researchers comes in the picture at the early stage of the project. So then, so this is the future. It's gonna be. It's gonna get really smaller, and the transparency and partnership is gonna get bigger in order to take the future ahead and to get the trust of the client.
Wonderful. So you said, full of opportunities and full of challenges, right? So you mentioned challenges. So how do you go about managing them? Can you talk a little bit about those challenges and how do we manage them? How will we manage them?
Okay, great. Okay, so there are a couple of challenges. The first thing I would say, existing market research methodology. Overwhelming of data, it makes very difficult to stand out from the noise, because there are 500 websites are being added to Google, and then that's the reason it's really one of the challenges for the market research industry. Okay, the second thing I will tell you, the quality. Sometimes, like back in days, the data are being collected manually, which leads to poor research quality. And then client might get disappointed, what they were expecting, we're not up to level, and then we got to go back to scratch. So that's how it has been happening. Secondly, research outcomes. So when it comes to research outcomes, expectation of clients are increasing due to complex business dynamics. Okay, so insightful strategic insights has to be provided stimulated timelines, and that is again one of the becoming challenges which is happening across the globe for the market research companies. That's the second thing. Then differentiated team or from your competitors, because what's been happening, you gotta be to demonstrate unique value. Okay, that's the first thing, and then novel contribution in the market research approaches. There are the market research company, they are following standard practices and everyone is following that, and none of the people they are getting the clients when they are really pursuing them. So with the advent of big advent and analytics, market research company, they can really stay ahead of the game. And market research company, they should adopt the cutting edge technology, if they were really gonna stand out of the competition. So that's one of the, they can do that. And the second thing, and the fifth thing I will tell you, the client constraint. With ever increasing competition, for the client needs to know the latest up-to-date information of the market research industry. So a company should give them accurate, agile, impeccable data within no time. And of course, the client has their budget, their timeline, then they have the scope of work is involved, which is SOW. So we gotta get that everything in a bundle within no time. So that's one of the challenges out there. And the solution, I can tell you, the market researchers, they should really focusing on strategic insights from the data extracted, which would help clients to make business decision in a better way. That's the first thing, and they can really easily differentiate themselves from the competition by providing faster, accurate, and more insightful information about their clients. So these are the challenges and solution if I'll put it in a nutshell.
Wonderful. So I want to change topics a little bit. So in terms of, so when you're hiring researchers, right? What are you looking for? In other words, what are the desirable traits of a good researcher? What a good researcher
Oh,
looks like?
wow, that's really a good question, Rom. Because it's really challenging to get the right candidate for any company. But then, when we look at the people, because we get CVs across the globe, right, from US, APAC region, Asia. But then we look for the we do not look the grades, marks, experiences, but then definitely we look for the challenges what they have faced and how did they solve it. Because the one can pretend to, okay, I have solved this and this is how it went, but then he can go till certain limit, but he can't go beyond that. But then if the person has genuinely solved the problem and how did he overcome that obstacle, and he can really, and once when I personally, when I go in details, that person can tell me, okay, he has done that, he has done that, then we know that person is genuine. So the main, for me, the major trait is challenges. How did they challenge, how did they solve that challenge, and what's your plan for the future? So only those two questions I look into it. Other than that, grades, degree, it really doesn't matter, because nowadays everything's about the self-learning. So yeah.
Okay, so I want to switch to a different kind of topic. What motivates you?
Wow, what motivates me? That's a really good one, though. Because it's because earlier, when we were back in days, we were really kid. It motivates different small things. But now, if I'll see a broad spectrum, okay, uh, legacy really motivates me because I really want to build legacy. For an example, I really one of my favorite speaker, Gary from Winner Media. He really building legacy. So that's what I want to do, even in the future, even if I die. But then I want to make sure the legacies behind me and the MRI's reports is literally going ahead. And I would love to be a unicorn in the market research industry. So I want to keep that legacy rest of my life, even after when I die. I hope not too soon. But then I want to build that legacy. That really motivates me. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me okay?
Okay, finally,
Okay.
again, I thought, oh my god, again,
Okay,
not of
no,
the glitch.
everything's okay. Don't scare me now. Okay, so we have a question from Facebook. So Mary, so we talked about the skills, right? You named several of them. So her question is one of the fundamental skills. Wouldn't that be curiosity? I mean, you mentioned, ability to deal with challenges. How about curiosity?
That's one of the trade we can look into it. 'Cause if the person is curious or intrigued about the field, about the future, why not? We can definitely take those candidates because if the person is curious, they can find out multiple ways to get the answer. So yeah, the fundamental skills of the curiosity is definitely one of the good traits. Yeah, it's that's we definitely consider that for sure.
Okay, wonderful. I have a different question here. Our good friend Kai, hello Kai. He's asking, can market research be distributed?
So in what context I would like to know, because if it's distributed, is it like is it in terms of the market research reports or how it's gonna be?
Yes.
It's really subjective question.
Let's wait for Kai to add some
Yeah.
more thoughts to his question. But you do this. So how do you, by the way, how do you distribute your reports today?
Okay, well, we are fortunate enough. We have a lot of clients for the Fortune 500 companies across the globe. That's the first thing. We get a lot of references, and we do a lot of branding and marketing. We do promotion on like highly paid websites, and also we reach out to the non-regional websites across the globe. So then we make sure we tap each and every market and each and every client because we don't want to miss the Japanese or let's say even Asian or American in English, whatever. So there are a lot, almost 200 countries out there. So we make sure our reports are being delivered in each and every language, and also we are doing promotion each and every different languages. So then we capture the market. So
Oh,
that's
that's a
how we
good.
distribute.
So
Yeah.
good questions. You said different languages. How many languages are the reports written, or what are they available on?
It can be available in 27 languages as of now.
Wow.
27, yeah, because our research team, they are really highly expert. They are really expertise in their own field, and we have of course content writer because you can't use really Google just like English to French that because that a lot of grammar mistakes and the statements really haywire. So we don't do that. So we really hire people. We really have people from the French region, from the Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, Mexican. Then we now it
And
has
then
to
you can
be.
go to Malaga. That's why you hire them, right?
That's what I'm saying exactly. So then I know once I go to Malaga, then I have my people. If I know whatever, then I can call my researcher. Hey, do you
Do
know
you have
what?
an office in Malaga? Do you have to go there?
Well, not yet, but then definitely that's one of my. It's really popped up into my head right now. I don't mind to open an office in Malaga. Do you know what I'm saying?
Okay. Well, actually, on that note, let's talk about your future plans, not the future of the industry, not the future of anything else. How about you? What are your future plans? More reports? Are you planning a summit, a get together? I think now people can indeed have summits, right? Can they not? So, what are you planning?
Yeah, earlier, recently in Expo 2020. Can you hear me? Oh, okay. Because
Sorry.
I couldn't see myself. I was like, okay, my God, I'm gone. Okay, so I was saying, so recently we have just went to Expo 2020, and we present Marrakesh reports in Dubai, and we fortunate enough we have interacted more than 190 countries over there and 190 people from across the globe. And in the coming 22nd of Jan 2022, we're gonna have another summit in Hammersmith in London, and we're gonna invite our clients from Fortune 500, and also they're going to be we're going to give like 50 complimentary tickets to our first come first basis serve, so we can do that. And so yeah, so we are looking forward to have Hammersmith like summit in the Hammersmith in London.
Oh, wonderful. So when exactly is it? Do you have a date?
20, 22nd of Jan.
January 22nd,
Yeah,
26th. Okay,
22nd.
22nd. Oh, I have to hear more about that. When you have the program, and please let me know. Love to hear more about
Yes,
what you guys are planning, and what you want to talk about, because
yes.
that's part of the fun, is understanding what's going to go on, what you want to talk about, what you're going to be sharing, and that kind of stuff. So I want to switch the conversation a little bit, on a different kind of note. So what keeps you up at night? Any kind of worries?
Wow, any kind of good words. Well, it's again, it's really depend on my mood, you know. But then, I always think to myself, how can I contribute to society? But recently, there's one institute, there's NGO that's called AGI in Canada, Saskatchewan. So we have donated $1,000 over there to help African childs for their health, food, educations. So I always think to myself, we gotta give back something to societies. So helping, donating. So I really wanna contribute to society. Like, look at the Elon Musk. He's always talking about we gotta give back to the society. So that really gave me impression. Like, okay, maybe I might follow his path. And the second thing, maybe, my vision or mission about my company, that really keeps me at night, because the vision is, we really want to make a huge difference to our clients and our their clients. And this third thing, motivational speakers, because there are a lot of I don't know, somehow, that I have that fantasy in my mind. I really want to help people, like, it just my one of that thought in my mind, because there are two name few. Okay, Les Brown is one of my favorite motivational speaker. Then Grant Cardone, Jordan Belfort, Brian Tracy, Eric Thompson, Zig Ziglar. So every day I keep listening to them, I keep even in the night. So then I really channelize my brain. Then I know what I want, where I want to go. Because if we are with the set people, with the set sort of people, with this, then you only get this much ideas. But then when I keep listening to this motivational speaker, then I get to know, okay, wow, this can be happen. So I'm always intrigued about the future, and I keep listening to motivational speeches. Then I know I can keep my brain active and I keep my core front text active. So then I know I'm on the right path. So that's the answer to your question.
Well, so along the same lines, so not what keeps you up at night, but what gives you hope? What inspires you about the future?
Wow. Okay. So, because I think the new market, because right now the world is changing rapidly. So we would love to tap untapped market, which hasn't been untapped. So we are again, we are always discovering if the market hasn't been untapped, and we would love to invest our money. Uh, we don't mind to become an angel investor or VCs to tap those market. And then also the big data, machine learning, artificial intelligence. So that really excites me about the future, because that's the future of our planet. So I'm really excited about the future.
That's good. I think we have lots of futurists on the show, and I think we should all be, hopeful, or have a good vision of the future. Else, the future will materialize as not being so good. If we think it's not going to be good, it will not turn out good.
I
So,
know.
talking of futurists, Kai is the prominent futurist in Germany, and he is asking you, do you have any thoughts on that? So you talk about technology, AI, and how it would change the world. So the wisdom of the swarm.
Vision of the swarm. So is that talking about the bird or what exactly?
No, so the swarm. So now I think it's the new consciousness of the internet, the collective, right? So how this is changing the way we interact. So now we have not just the collective, but now we have the metaverse. We have a variety of different things. So he's adding question about distributing so distributed computing, again, along the same lines of, now we have metaverse, we have a bunch of things. The idea of distributed computing, all this connectivity, the data being shared, different ways. In the old days, we talked on the phone, we type, we read reports, we read the newspaper. Nowadays, I guess if you write and you hit save, I can see or you can share while you are creating. So all this information being distributed, live
Yeah.
simultaneously, right? So how will that affect the way you work?
Well, it's definitely AI. We play the main role because it has been distributed sometimes manually. Data has been collected, so we are going the right track. But then now, since we are going to adopt a new more technology, which I said, the Google just got the sensor-based technology. Just imagine, like, we never thought of the Google would come up with some sort of technology. Then even that technology will tell if the mobile is handled by human, if it's shaky, if it's wobbly, or if it's just a robot. It just got it in a few seconds. So hence we are again more focusing on the AI and ML than in terms of computing distribution of the market. So yeah, so the technology, we are really focusing on the AI at this point of time.
Okay, I have a different kind of question from Daniel. So Daniel asks, what kind of programs or software do you use or you recommend to organize data for market research?
Well, the big data apparently it gives an access to collect or monitor and get any sort of analyze the data within no time. But again, in our in house we have built our own software so we can organize our data in such a way because okay, it's a really good question though, because right now we got 700,000 reports ready made right now on our websites, and we have published more than 1 million reports from last 6 to 7 years. And we have been fortunate enough that we have all repeated clients from Fortune 500. So the big data, and then if you create your own software in order to get the access in an easy way, then that's the best then.
All righty, wonderful. So looks like we went through all the questions. Mahesh, thank you so much for being here with me and the guests today. I most certainly enjoyed the interview. I really want to hear more about the summit, what you have in mind. We were bringing what
Yes,
you're going to be talking about, so we need to talk more about that. So if you
definitely,
guys
definitely.
have more questions for Mahesh, please make sure you check in our YouTube channel. Leave comments over there. I know where he is. He's going to Malaga. So if you have any more questions or comments, make sure you drop them in there, and I will check on them, and I will make sure that Mahesh gets the questions in the comments. And of course, yes, please do like the video, subscribe to our channel. That's the best way to keep in touch. So again, Mahesh, thank you so much. I'm
My
gonna
pleasure.
transition now to Fuad, and I will welcome him to the show. Nice to have you here, Mahesh. Thank you.
Same here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Okay, so let's move. I have to pull some more information. So this is a little bit about Fuad. He's the director of strategy for Everbridge. He's an expert in business and product strategy. But today, as I promised, we're going to be talking about his book because I already asked him too many questions about the other stuff he does. So his new book is The Competitive Intelligence Playbook: How to Build, Manage, and Optimize a Competitive Intelligence Program. It is available on Amazon.com. So without further ado, let's welcome Fuad to the show. Hi, Fuad. Good to see you.
Hello, Rom. Always a pleasure. How are you
Uh,
doing?
welcome. Good. And nice to have you here. Bienvenue. Assalamu
Merci,
alaikum.
merci, salam.
So I was gonna give you a hard time on football, given what Mahesh told me, and I said I think I can guess. But since you are in Montreal, it's perhaps best that I ask you about what's your favorite ice hockey team? Do you
Yeah,
have one?
of course, Canadien de Montréal. But I'm not a hockey fan, so yeah,
You mean you still have all your teeth? Smile, please. Let
yeah,
me see.
exactly. If
Okay.
you ask me about Formula One, I will be able to respond. That's for sure. But other sports, I think it's maybe less. I'm not a big fan of other sports.
Understand. Okay. Now the really hard question,
Ooh.
and that can offend people if you get it wrong. So, what's your favorite band?
Pink Floyd.
Pink Floyd. Well, you didn't even blink.
Yeah, no. It's very clear in my mind since I was young. And the first song I listened was "Welcome to the Machine."
Welcome. So, not the wall or the other side of the moon.
No, it was
Black
"Welcome
Dog.
to the Machine." Then "Shine On Your Crazy Diamond," and "Wish You Were Here," and things like that. But and I'm talking the old discs, not the let's say MP3 or something like that. Really old, like
LPs.
yeah,
The real physical vinyl. Okay.
exactly. Yeah,
That's
it's
fantastic.
it's
I
a
did not know
diffusion
about
now.
that about you. So that's why I'm asking those kinds of questions because we get to know each other.
My pleasure. It's a conversation, so bring it
Good.
on.
Now, I want to know what's your favorite spot in the whole world?
Oh, that I did already visited or not?
Yes, one, what is your favorite one? And then the place that you would like to go.
Where I want to go, I think some island somewhere, white sand, something like that. That would do some good. With the pandemic and everything, we didn't have the opportunity to travel anywhere. So
Hmm.
I don't know, anywhere, Seychelles, Maldives, things like that. It's fancy, but I'm not looking for fancy. I'm looking for white sand and sun and getting some color. Yeah, for the places I've been, I think one of the best was a city I lived in. It was Strasbourg in France.
Strasbourg.
Yeah,
Oh,
and this period of the year, I think it's one of the best places in the world to be. You have how to say Christmas market, one of the biggest
oh
in
yeah.
the world. Few million people go in there every year, and yeah, it's very nice there. So if you go to Europe,
Mm.
I would advise you to go take a
The
look.
Christmas market. Now,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you did go to school in Strasbourg, did you not?
Exactly. I did my
Okay.
university, part of my university studies in Strasbourg. It was in international relations, and it was competitive intelligence and international business development. So I spent some a year and a half there.
Now, I actually never asked you the question, but how did you go from applied mathematics to competitive intelligence? Well, it
Yeah,
doesn't seem that they jive, but apparently they do.
yeah, they do. They do. Well, it was a transition. First, I started with the operational research or applied mathematics, as you said, and it was too Cartesian. Let's say I found myself that way. So I started working for an oil and gas company at the beginning, energy industry, and I was a market analyst. And I was doing competitive intelligence, by the way, but I didn't know that it was a thing. And I discovered by doing market analysis that I was looking at competitors. So I tried to get some information about that field, and I discovered that it was a field in itself. So I decided just uh, to 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 do it, and I left my job, and I went to France to pursue first study, then practice, and I practiced it in few companies since then. So yeah, this is how I find myself
See, I
in
did not
competitive intelligence.
know that about you either, because
Yeah, you're
you
discovering a lot
actually
today.
gave up on a bunch of things and you pursue your dreams and your passion, and
Oh yeah,
off you go.
left the country, left a company. But look, if there is something you really want to do and like to do, and this is what I say all the time about competitive intelligence, it's not even a job. Because I saw a question before, curiosity, is it a skill? I think it's the most important skill in competitive intelligence because we have that intellectual curiosity. We want to learn, we want to know, and we want to bring it to the company. But first, even if we are not working, we're curious people. We want to learn more and anticipate, even if it's not possible to predict the future,
Certainly,
but
yeah.
we collect as many data points to understand what can happen, and that's what drove me to change and change again.
So actually, Paul says, "Hey, okay, so go pursue your passions, change your life, live where you are, go somewhere, some other place."
Thanks, Paul.
It's always fun to hear all those things and realize. So let's continue along the same lines. I know it's there are different kinds of questions today, but
Mhm.
now we're talking about your book, and you're an accomplished professional. I don't want to talk about the professional side. I want to get to know you better as
Sure.
a writer. So, inspiration. What inspires you to write? Why do you write?
Mhm. Well, look, first, I never thought that I would write and
Really?
be an author and publish a book. But I don't know for you, but sometimes you have some ideas in your mind, and it's like an internal chatter about the way of doing things. We can do, let's say, competitive intelligence or other activities in a more efficient way. And I was thinking about that, and I was moving, let's say, from a company to another, and I found myself in kind of similar situations where I needed to build from scratch what I already did in different places. And I always had to explain to people what we need to do, how to do it, to convince stakeholders, and even people I was working with, team members, CI team members, or people I was collaborating with. Uh, I needed to explain and convince, etc. So I was more and more thinking how to codify this in such a way that people can understand it very quickly. Not very theoretical. Yeah, you don't need a PhD to understand what's in the book. So yeah, basically, this is why I started writing. And by the way, I was taking notes since I started working. So sometimes I say it's the book that took the, the longest period of time to be published, because
That's fine.
it's always part of my job. Let's say when I learn something, I take notes. And before I had, let's say, uh, a, how to say, a simple notebook, paper, and a pen, and people thought that I was an investigator anywhere I was going. So because I was taking notes, and they were making jokes with that. After that, well, came the phone. So I was always taking notes with my phone, and the thoughts how to optimize the way we are doing things in competitive intelligence. I was taking those notes also, and I tried to gather all those notes that I took over time to maybe build something that can be useful to people. So uh, but this is about let's say CI, about writing. I think this is one of the best ways to convey a message and to keep it alive. Let's say whatever we do, and I learned that early on. We learn, we practice, and we share. And there are different ways
Yeah.
to share. We share through this event, and thanks a lot, Ron, for what
Oh,
everything
thanks
that
for
you're
being
doing,
here.
the
Mm.
magazine, this platform, and everything you're doing for CI and for other fields. And this is the way we can share, written or conversation, but we have to bring it out there. We have to help other people if we know how to do something, if we learn. And it might not be perfect, and we are still learning. We'll always be learning, but at least what we know that can work, let's share it with people in any way possible. So a book is one way to do it.
Absolutely, this is a learning instrument for all of us. That's really why I started this, is because talking, people like you, and I learn stuff, and talking like to Paul or to Kai or to Mary. Everybody's got they'll be sharing, and the more we share, the more we grow. We grow together.
Yeah.
We can exchange thoughts and ideas, and that's really why the magazine exists. And this it's the idea of exchanging
Sharing is
thoughts and
caring.
ideas. Sharing is indeed caring. So we talk about writing in general, but is there a specific point in time that you can say that, hey, about the CI playbook, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to write the CI playbook. Is there
Mhm.
a specific point that
Yeah.
you decided That's it. That's what I'm gonna go do.
Yeah. Well, I would wear a shirt where I write I love CI, something like that. It's just a joke, but uh, th- I perfectly remember where when I started really writing this book. I was taking my coffee one morning, and I had my phone in front of me, and I just was writing my notes as usual, and I saw that the document was, let's say, reaching the limit of Google Keep. So I needed to create a document for that. And I was saying, wait a minute, it's something I want to do. It's something I want to build. Let's give it a try. So I started learning about how to write a book, for example, how to make sense of the content in the book, etc. It took some time, but I found myself without making a lot of efforts, just putting notes, just organizing those ideas and saying what goes first, what goes second, etc. So yeah, this is how it started, and it was a winter morning. I think it was not winter; it's nearly spring, but in Montreal, spring and winter. I mean, in March it's still snowing, so yeah,
Oh, here I have summer for 9 months of the year. So
yeah.
what
I,
can I say about
I would say
Montreal?
lucky you, but I love winter, so it's not a problem
Oh,
for
I
me.
love winter too. Well, I don't like shoveling snow. That's a different question. I probably should have a poem here. Who likes shoveling up snow? Nobody does that.
It keeps you
So,
healthy. Some exercise.
oh, you like the snow, really? Oh, brother, you're good. You really, I mean, it's not New York snow. It's not gray. It's just
Yeah.
white, and you love
A-
it, and you can
And we're
make.
talking now, it's November, but in April, we all hated shoveling when
Oh,
there's still
certainly.
snow.
Oh, that's the issue with us here too. After a while, the hate you just.
Hmm.
So I want to go back to your you as a writer, as an
Hmm.
author. I have a question for Mary in Facebook. So I wonder if inspiration is a kind of influence or is it a motivation? So influence versus motivation, what is it for you?
Yeah, I would say it's both because first we get influenced, and we whatever we do and whatever wherever we are in life, we get influenced by many things. We can be influenced by news, by people around us, or by things we read or something like that. So maybe it can be a trigger, that influence. But after that, it's motivation to keep going over time, to do something about it, because you can be influenced and you learn, you say, oh, that's really interesting, I love it, and go to another call or move to another call. But if you want to stay there and to keep doing, let's say, whether, as I said, writing a book, a blog, a video, I don't know, anything, you need that motivation to continue doing whatever you are doing, whether it's competitive intelligence or something else. And I really believe in that. If influence alone, if you are influenced, it won't help, because the moment you have another influence, you will forget the first influence. Motivation will keep you going there. And this is why, going back to curiosity, when you want to learn, people will have to stop you from doing that, not motivate you to do that. You are so motivated in that. And sometimes I have that comment, because people don't like looking for that information, analyzing, etc. But we love it, so we do it. And people say, how can you get motivated with that? Well, it's simply who we are.
Well, I think you hit a very interesting chord in there because people like it magnifique. So it's
Oh,
influence. It is
yeah.
it's all of the above and the
And then,
curiosity, I guess. So talking about curiosity, let's go back to the book proper.
mhm.
So what readers can expect from your book? As I read your book, what should I expect?
Yeah, I would say what I was expecting in the past when I was starting, and this is what I wanted to build. I wanted to find real life examples and real life, uh, how to say, processes working or not working, what worked, what didn't work. But I didn't want to start with the SWOT, straight weaknesses, opportunity, and threats that we know, pastel or something like that, the four forces and things like that, that we know from business school. But it's not enough to build a CI program. There's the human side of things. There's budgets. There's the team, there are tools, the platforms, whether they do the job or not. So there are a lot of things that we didn't, or I didn't, let's say, come across. So I wanted to build something, like, say, I was imagining myself in the past trying to build a program starting in CI, and what would have helped me to start in the right foot, not make some mistakes that I made in the past, and I learned from that. So this is what I wanted to do, and this is what I expect, or people can expect from the book, to find some steps, guidelines from reality, from learned experience, to set up their program and to, let's say, make it work. And it's one perspective, of course. They can have their own perspectives, and they can maybe have better programs than what I've built so far. But it's here to help people to see better uh, uh, into how to build, manage, and optimize programs, because there's a lot of fragmented knowledge out there, and you have a lot of content about how to set up a CI program. But I wanted to add to that the human side of things, or real examples from experience. Yeah, this is what I tried to do, and this is what people can expect from that.
Now I have a very tough question.
Go ahead, shoot.
Okay, so this one is about what is your favorite child kind of question. So I will do my best. So Marjolaine Bergeron, she asks which part of the book you enjoyed the most writing and why. So what's your favorite child?
I think the last two chapters, to be honest. The last two chapters, because I was thinking about writing a book just about those two chapters, and yeah, I didn't have enough time. I needed to publish the book, so and it's all about influence and the human side of things. I think this is the part where, beyond all the methods, the techniques, the tools, etc., we face the reality of any organization. Even in the same family, you will have this kind of considerations, different personalities, different goals, different strategies, different kind of stakeholders, and all of these people are contributing, or they will how to say, make or break your program if not dealt with the right way. So for me, yeah, that was the part where I had the most fun. And I invite people to see the painting of, I think it was Eugène Delacroix, if I'm not mistaken, Gray Eminence.
Mhm.
And if it's not Eugène Delacroix, yeah, maybe I forgot the name of the painter, but it was depicting François du Tremblay and Cardinal de Richelieu, and people were bowing to François du Tremblay, who was an advisor for Cardinal de Richelieu. He was not the decision maker, he was the influencer. He was
Mhm.
influencing the decision, and people recognized who was the real decision maker, the one who was the gray eminence, or eminence grise, uh,
Mhm.
helping the decision maker to make decisions. And this talked to me a lot, or resonated a lot with me, because sometimes we just target the hierarchy, and we think that because there's an SVP or something like that, here's where you have to go and to have the conversation. But organizations are networks, and we get to identify those networks, and who's uh, how to say, more friendly with who's collaborating with who. So otherwise, whatever we can build, when we get to present it, sometimes for no reason some people will resist it, and we don't understand why. So that side, I think it's really, really important in competitive intelligence, and any field, by the way. It's not just competitive intelligence. It just happened
So
that we're talking about competitive intelligence.
I'm gonna pick on a bunch of people. They're still on the line. So Kai
Mhm.
and Paul, if you're still watching. So, and I'm gonna ask you, Fuad. So, are we all eminence grays, or should we aspire to become ones? Be that a silent person influencing the decision maker. Is that the role of CI?
Yes. Short answer for CI and market intelligence. I really think that our role, and yesterday I was discussing this, and I was saying, as a community, maybe somehow we dropped the ball when it comes to making CI a strategic function and strategic role within our organizations, because in 20 years, nearly 20 years, it's still CI analysts, and people identify CI folks as analysts, not strategists, not leaders. And this is something that needs to change over time, obviously, because the influence we can have on the decision making, not because we want to manipulate or anything, because we have more knowledge, we have more tools to analyze and more methods, and we have ways to build those insights and recommendations that can help better decision making or help the organization to avoid some mistakes. We have it, but it's not leveraged. Why? Because we're stuck in that role of analysis, and it's really negative sometimes. Why? Because you don't get the budget, you don't get the team, you don't get the how to say attention of let's say the decision makers everywhere. So that depends a lot on us and how we position ourselves within any organization. Whether we want to position ourselves as analysts, so we will just find information, analyze, and ship reports, or sit in the decision table or participate via sponsors and make sure that the voice of competitive intelligence is heard and it's included in the decision making process. It impacts the decision making. I think that's the best way to position competitive intelligence. So to your question, yes, definitely we have to be those gray eminences for our organizations and to build our influence inside the organization.
Okay. So I wanted to go back to you as a writer. So that's a part of the questions that we're getting here. So and I try to tell people it's not hard to start a book. It's difficult to finish a book because you have so much to say, right? So Kai is posing an interesting question here, right? So if we, because again, back to the influence and the curiosity and the play between the influence and the curiosity, if you let the curiosity run amok, right? So we need some discipline. So the cat knows the cat. The curious cat died, I guess. So how do you balance the influence with the motivation and the curiosity? How do you find a healthy balance so things can still move on?
By the way, thanks, Kai. It's really well written. The cats know, and sometimes it's tricky because we can go to some areas we don't want to go, for many reasons, ethical, legal, and few things. Let's say in French they say "béni soit les ignorants." Let's say the ignorants are blessed, and sometimes some kind of information or intelligence is not in the realm of competitive intelligence or open source intelligence. So we have to stay in our area, let's say, from an ethical standpoint. So we limit somehow, even if we are curious, the reach, not to get to some information we wouldn't have access to in as open source. We just don't do it because there's so much trouble with that, even legal trouble. So we can do that. And the second thing is about time management. And it's true. Sometimes we are so curious, we are going after every piece of intelligence we can get out there, and we can spend hours or days or even weeks just looking for information. But we have a deadline to deliver on, let's say, a presentation or a report, and we don't have enough time at the end of the day for analysis, for summarizing, for building those recommendations, or build a story around that, all the intelligence we gather to provide a recommendation. So I think time management here in competitive intelligence is really important, to make sure that you're not spending more than 20 to 30% of your time gathering that intelligence, to spend enough time to analyze that intelligence, and after that communicating that intelligence, which is really overlooked most of the time. We think it's just a report, but it's way more than that. It's a message, it's a story to share with stakeholders. So yeah, the two sides. Curiosity is not blessed sometimes when it goes beyond our scope of open source intelligence. And second is when we are curious and we are just spending our time gathering intelligence, we might not have all the time we need to do the other parts of the intelligence cycle. So It's a lot of caution with that. So thanks, Kai, for this.
I was afraid you're gonna say meow or something like that. So it's okay. So along the same lines, so nowadays we kind of have to juggle several oranges at the same time. So you have
Mhm,
human, you have sock mint,
mhm,
human intelligence, social media intelligence. We have OSINT, open source intelligence. So Akai has an interesting follow-up question that he's sharing. So in times of increasing digitization, right, is the human side, the human, right,
mhm.
getting even more interesting for CI? So now, how is the effect of digitalization on the way you gather intelligence? More or less human, more or less SOCMint, more or less OSINT.
Mhm,
How
mhm.
is your balance on the intelligence collection?
Yeah, I wouldn't say there is a ratio between them, but
Okay.
I would say the human side of things, it's really important, and it will remain important all the time in competitive intelligence, for the simple reason that sometimes people don't tweet it, they don't write about it, they don't post anything on social media about it. It's just in the heads of the sales rep, the customer support, the customer himself or herself. And that intelligence we need to get it anyway. So it's our role to get to those people, to sit with those people, and to have the conversation. Primary intelligence, because it won't, we won't find it any way differently. So it won't end up in social media or something like that. So it's more content that we can get from social media and other spaces, even metaverse in the future. Maybe we'll be able to gather some intelligence there, because people will start to post information or share things there. It's a long
Over
shot.
there and not here, you feel that we'll get to the point where the world really transitions from the real world into the metaverse, and they talk over there and not here, or how?
Uh, I think it will be a mix of everything, but the idea here is to get intelligence where it is. And some people will be more comfortable sharing in this format. Some people will just be comfortable sharing around a coffee or beer. Some people will share it on social media and create content about it and talk to their colleagues. And the others will just try to leverage anything new to do it. If there is a new social media and or metaverse or etc., some of them will go there. So we have to follow the intelligence where we can find it. That's my point. It's not one or another. I think it's a mix of everything.
Mhm.
But the human side is really important, and it will remain important in intelligence gathering. Just when we take win loss analysis, for example, we gather so much information about why the customer decided to buy our product or not, and this information, well, we will not find it in G2 crowd or something like that. Sometimes if they are not happy, they will post a review and we can find it there, but most of the time, no, they will just be silent switchers. But we have the duty to get that intelligence wherever it is. So yeah, I
I
hope it
guess.
helps.
Oh, it does. I think you have a new kind of quote. We have to follow the intelligence where to find it. That is a good one. Maybe that's a chapter for your next book.
Yeah, maybe.
So you can encourage people to go talking about the book. Let's ask a question about the book. So, what is MVP? The minimum viable competitive intelligence program.
Yeah,
What is that, and what do you mean by that?
it's the inspiration was from product management. I had a few years in product management as product manager and product director. And MVP is a minimum viable product, but I was thinking for CI, it's kind of the same. What is the minimum viable program we can build to deliver value to the organization without breaking the bank or uh, or spending too much money? Because obviously we don't have a lot of budget, at least at the beginning. So what's the least we can start with to make the program work? And it goes to first, let's say the value we provide, because the less we have resources, the most we need to prioritize and organize to make sure that we are providing value for the most important topics and areas the organization is working on. That's first. Second is the budget. And sometimes we hear about platforms and things like that. And platforms are good, they're doing a good job. But some competitive intelligence programs were built without any tool or platform. It's more the skills of the CI professionals which helped to create the program. You have the timeline also because, okay, let's say you start the program and people rely on you to deliver, but you have a deadline for that. We can't spend just a whole year just trying to build a report or something like that. It wouldn't work. So there's, let's say, what I call the rule, 100 days rule for time to value. And I got inspired from the political world. They say the first 100 days they have to deliver for CI. I think it's the same to get it up and running and start delivering value at the strategic level and tactical level in the first 100 days. So you start by learning about the organization you're working with. You don't take forever to do that, 2 weeks, 3 weeks to do that, to talk with people, to know the processes, etc. You start to how to say, build the templates for reports, presentations, etc. You test do those CI outputs with your stakeholders, and then you launch it officially, and you iterate. You iterate and you learn each time, and you improve. You will make some mistakes. You will correct it over time, and at least you're delivering value. People are seeing competitive intelligence, your insights, your recommendations, etc. But my advice is don't take more than 3 months. Give yourself 10 days buffer. I don't know, Christmas and Thanksgiving and things like that, but don't take too much time to deliver value. Otherwise, people will start to question what you're doing, because they're obviously paying money for the program
Certainly.
one way or another.
So I want to ask your view of competitive intelligence. So some people say, "Oh, this is just corporate profiles and battle cards, right?" Is it? What else is out there?
Yeah, well, thanks for this question, and it's it's dear to my heart when we're talking about the CI outputs, and most of the time we hear about battle cards because it is the easiest, let's say, output. But I personally don't like focusing on battle cards because it's really tactical, and it's made to, let's say, help make deals, and let's say how to attack, how to defend, and what are the strengths and weaknesses, etc. That's really important. But the goal is way more than that. It's more to really understand at the deep level the competitive landscape, the competitors, their profile completely, and their products, how they compare to us. And more than that, when we have that picture of our competitive landscape, and we know what they are offering and where they are up to, is to not predict the future, because I don't believe we can predict the future, but increase the data points, allowing us to see what what is the most probable action they will perform in the future. So there's way more than that. So when you're talking about battle cards, it's just tactical. At strategic level, I really think big picture about the competition. Let's say top three competitors, then top 10, and the trends and the features customers are looking for, or services customers are looking for, etc., and how these competitors are responding or they're working on, if there are patents on that, or anything that will show us that the market is going there, whether it's a blue ocean or a red ocean and things like that. So way more than battle cards, I would say. Way more CI outputs, which are more strategic than that. And this is something we really keep in mind as CI professionals. When we hear about battle cards, we always say, yes, we will help you with that, but uh, it's not everything we do in competitive intelligence. It's way more
Certainly.
than that.
So I wanted to go back to the MVP. So Daniel has a question for you. So do you select a specific segment for MVP, or do you consider this to be a better approach than, say, a focus group?
Well, do you select a specific segment for MVP? Okay. If I understand well, do we prioritize? And yes, definitely, we prioritize even the topics we're working on. Or if we have, let's say, several products, we will select or markets or key intelligence topics. We will select those key intelligence topics that can provide the most value for the organization. So we know that some areas will not be covered at the beginning. We know that, but we are comfortable with that, and we share it with stakeholders. Really important to communicate with stakeholders at the beginning to tell them that we will help, but here's the situation, here's where we are going to start, and it's a conversation. So if people say, no, no, this topic or this product or this market is really important, it's strategic right now, we need to work on that, good, it will help us to prioritize. Doesn't mean that we will just do because people are asking for, but we will assess it, we will prioritize, and we will come up with a list of priorities. We will never have the time to do everything, but we will for sure have the time to do the most important things. And this is really something I live by, because uh, if it answers the question, because when we're talking about specific segment, I hear a specific product, specific areas, topics, markets, and for that, definitely. And the rule of three, I believe in that too. So what are the three most important product? Let's start. What is the most important product, let's say? Then the three most important product, then the 10 most important product, if we have that. Same for the market, same for everything. And we build upon that.
So going from the me to we, right?
Mhm.
So what is the definition of a good CI team? What would say, well, this is a good we?
Yeah, I see them like in the movie Troy with the Brad Pitt. It's Myrmidon. Let's say they were in their boat and everyone was trying to get to the shore, but they were going faster and they were fearless. I would say the team for CI, it's a highly motivated team, highly curious people, analytical, but good communicators also. That's really important. A lot of situations where we're talking about domain expertise sometimes is necessary, but most often it can be learned. Why? Because we are curious and we have a learning mindset. So it wouldn't be an issue after few months, few years, maybe if it's needed. People will be the experts in their fields. I'm not worried about that. I saw that firsthand. But the curiosity of people, the growth mindset or learning mindset, the analytical skills, and the communication plus influence, that's really important. So the more we go in time, let's say we start with gathering intelligence, but at some point it will not be enough from team members. Second, we analyze or they analyze, but it won't be enough at some point. They will need to communicate that, to build their report, to make their presentations, to think what, so what, now what. And when it comes to now what is their recommendation for action? A competitive response, continue to monitor or build a new feature or something like that. And it's an advice or suggestion for the product team or marketing team or sales. But yeah, I think the team needs to be completely comfortable with the cycle. The curiosity will allow them to learn fast about the product, the company, the industry, stakeholders also. A lot of, how to say, communication, I mean, discussion with people also. So not to antagonize anyone, but to be clear about what we do and what we don't do. This kind of things. And if I refer to the book Drive from Daniel Pink, it says there are three things very important for knowledge workers, which I consider we are. You have purpose, autonomy, and mastery. So first thing for people in the team and for me also is to have a clear purpose, clear goal, why we are here. We're not here just to ship intelligence day in, day out. So that has to be clear, and we always define it with the team. Our goal, big, hairy, audacious goal, and autonomy. We give each other the autonomy to work on their topics, following the cycle, etc. And we give each other feedback all the time. And mastery, over time, what's needed is to be the masters of our craft, our field, our product, our market. So to become the people, the to go whenever there is a question about the market, competition, or even customers, what they're saying about our product or competitive products. So when you build that, how to say, that strength for or muscle for the organization, I think that's where you can say that you have a strong or a good team for CI.
Wonderful. So along the same lines, I think you described several things. So I'm curious more about, a day in the life of, right? So a specific question about the processes or how do you go about doing your business, right? So once the
Mhm.
CI program is up and running, then what? So what does it look like on a daily basis, or do you have a specific recipe that you teach people how to gather intelligence, how
Mhm.
to analyze it? And
Mhm.
you said a lot about value. How it adds value. How
Mhm.
do you go about that on a daily basis?
Yeah. Well, first thing in the day of CI professional is drink coffee, and then after that, well, you start looking at what's
What
happening.
kind?
Yeah, it depends on your taste, but some
Okay.
people like it like say latte or something like that. I prefer black coffee, and no
Okay.
matter whether it's espresso, double espresso, or even a filter, I don't mind. At least I have my dose of coffee per day. But anyway, it's not the most important skill for CI. I would say on daily basis. Well, for me, it's a lot of common sense, and common sense to know or to learn about competition, you have to spend time doing that. So every day you have at least half an hour to you spend, and I do that every day to look at uh, what competition is doing for each day. And for the team, what I created, it's the daily intelligence or intelligence of the day. Each day we have one piece of intelligence at least saying, okay, this is what we found, and we follow the rule of what so what know what. Once again, common sense, not go into too how to say complex methods, at least not in this conversation. We can There are so many methods to be used for analysis, but if we go back to fundamentals or fundamental principles, uh, the what is the information, so what, and now what we can do about that. And every day is developing the habit of gathering that intelligence, making sense of it, shape it in a digestible format to be consumed by people. And it's day in, day out, and it's week in, week out. So at the beginning of the week, we have our weekly plan to see what kind of key intelligence topics we will deliver. And if we start with one key intelligence topic per week, depending on the pace of the organization, it's fine. If you say you have minimally you have 3 to 5 how to say intelligence alerts you can share with people, depending on how critical it is. If there is nothing interesting, well, we don't need that. And one state of the competition weekly report, that can be a program for a week. But I think it's a lot about forming the habits among team members to be every day aware of what competitors are doing, and each piece of intelligence having that process to say what we found. Okay, so what? Why is it interesting for us? And what can we do about that? Is it actionable or not? Is it helpful to people, even to sales or to make a deal, to marketing, to product management? Maybe it's just a feature or usability, how to say, improvement that we need to do in our product. But that mindset. I'm not going to go to a more complicated or more sophisticated methods because we have a lot for the big picture, for side by side comparisons, etc. But most often than not, it comes back to the most simple aspects of it. Make sure that it makes sense for people. Make sure that you make it digestible for people. Otherwise, even if it's the best intelligence you have, the best insight, if it's not shaped the right way, people will just not understand
The
it.
packaging.
They will disqualify it.
So, from the cup of coffee onwards, looks like you said a lot of things happen right at the same time. So the question is, how do you go about managing your time? So the question is about time management. Do you have a strategy to organize one's time for yourself or for your team? What do you recommend?
Mhm. Well, for time management per activity, let's say, whenever there is, let's say we take a key intelligence topic we defined, and we want to know how much time we will spend from day one to delivery. And I would say it's first to understand the need properly. That's 10% of your time. Let's say 10% you sit with stakeholders. This is really important. We don't take email requests. It's more conversation kickoff to better understand what's really needed. So when it's done, don't spend more than 30% of your time gathering intelligence for that topic. 30% of your time, well, it's let's say 10, 30, 30, 30. It's simple, and differ or change from one team to another.
No,
But at least you take 10%. Sorry, go ahead, Aram.
no, I understand what you're saying. The ratios. No, it's good because I think it's important. Someone with your level of experience,
Hmm.
and you're teaching people who actually, are just beginning, or they're trying to set up, or some are experienced. But
Hmm.
on average, how much time you spend on each thing, so we know. Oh, I shouldn't spend 60% of my time doing this, or no.
Hmm.
Thank you for sharing, because that's how people. Well, what's the benchmark? Well, about this is
Hmm.
so like a 10-30-30. It's kind of a
Yeah,
simple, and people, I mean, not simple because it needs to keep it up, but
yeah.
it gives people an idea
Oh yeah, and to add to it, there are 2 points. Why 30 for communication? Because before it was less, and honestly, personally, I was spending less with communication. It was between 10 and 20% of my time. So I was saying, okay, the intelligence is here, we analyze it, so it should be easy. But it's overlooked, and I did that mistake myself. So 30% of your time you have to spend it in communication. It means preparing for that communication with people. When you have presentation to make, it's not just dropping what you found on a slide and that's it. Doesn't work this way. It has to be how to say organized in such a way that people who are not competitive intelligence professionals can understand it and communicate it well. When you're presenting to people, etc., you present it well, and after that you get the feedback about that communication to make sure that the message reached the audience. Otherwise, what's the use? You present something and nobody gets anything from what we are presenting. So communication side is really important.
so I think you make a great point in terms of going through the process, establishing what you're doing, using processes, gather the intelligence,
Hmm.
communicate clearly, right?
Hmm.
But I guess you always go back to the idea of the value, right? The value you deliver, and you said that quite clearly. Like,
Hmm.
so do you have some guidance on how should we measure the CI program's performance as a whole? So how do you measure
Hmm.
performance for a CI team or a CI effort,
Yeah.
or the people who are looking into, well, I really have a CI team or not? So how do you measure the performance, or how can you tell this is going really well, or
Hmm.
not, or I need to improve?
Yeah. You mentioned value, and it's really important. I think it's a first metric is value we provide, but it's tricky. It's not easy to to assess what value we provided to the organization. But we can know if, let's say, for example, for any project, the first step was presentation of competitive intelligence to the team for the project. Let's say we're working on a product roadmap, and we want to present some competitive intelligence on that, or let's say a marketing campaign, and we present some competitive in the market intelligence at the beginning. And after the fact, we see if the program or the campaign took into account that information, and we can link it to the success or failure of that campaign. But at least we know that uh, competitive intelligence was included at the beginning and was included in that project. But it's not easier said than done because it's a lot qualitative than quantitative. But when you're starting with the program and you want to assess the performance of the team, well, you have first how to say you start with volume, and volume. I mean, we can start easily, and it has its value no matter what. How many key intelligence topics do we deliver? How many voice of the competition or competitive briefs? How many alerts and things like that? So the how many comes first because you have to build volumes, and it's not for the volume; it's for the habit of building and doing things week in week out. Okay. Second is let's say impact. How many of those reports or presentation have been included into such and such program, project, or something like that. And from what we provided as insights or recommendation, etc., when we see the results of those programs or projects, we say how many of our outputs influenced those uh, those organizational outputs. Let's say if we have, as I mentioned before, a campaign, a deal, product feature we want to build, etc. So it's hard to explain it in details, like in the conversation, but link the value how to say, link what we are doing with what is providing as value for the organization. Start with the volume, but the volume is to create the habit of producing. It's for the team. As for management of the team, you know that we are working on that. And after that, it's how what we are producing, the volume, is linked more and more to what other teams are doing, operations, sales, etc. That's the second step. And the third step, okay, you created the volume, you know you're producing day in, day out, you know that they are aware and exposed to that competitive intelligence recommendations, insight, etc. The third step is to say how that intelligence shaped or influenced. And that's why we were talking about influence, how it was an influence element or influential to the decision making. And this about it's a lot about discussion with stakeholders and being involved in the decision process to understand what has been done and how we influence that, if it can help.
So in the book, you also talk about building lean CI programs. Can you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about that? What is a lean CI program?
Yeah, it's a program allowing us to do more or to provide more by doing less. Because the temptation, let's say you have 10 products, the temptation is start to cover the 10 products and to work on whatever you can work on. And it's not possible in my experience. It has to be, let's say, well, you create your following the principles of lean, and I invite everyone to get interested in the lean principles, etc. But it's a lot about the value, and it's a lot about the flow. And the flow, how you create it, it's with tools like Kanban, where you make sure that any item is not getting stuck in any phase of your work. Let's say you have your funnel backlog, the work ongoing, the work which is ready, and the work that has been done. And in each step, you want to make sure that it's flowing from one step to another for any key intelligence topic. So when I'm talking about lean, for example, to start working on something, we have to prioritize it first. And I can tell you, we always have this conversation with the team, with team members, to make sure that any item that we start working on has the highest priority for the organization. And it's not just urgent, because urgent can be very tricky. The best place to be when you prioritize and when it's important and not urgent. When it's urgent, you, like it or not, at some point you are tempted to cut corners and just to deliver something, and it's not good for business. So yeah, you ensure that you're working on the highest value for the organization, business value or customer value, by prioritizing. And all across the let's say what we call Kanban, and I invite everyone to get interested in that because it's really powerful. Yeah, it's really powerful. You make sure that the time you're spending in each step and bottlenecks, let's say if you have to have input from a subject matter expert, and the person is taking a week holiday per month, okay, for some reason, and you can get that person to have a conversation with you, and you have a presentation. So the whole process or the whole delivery time, you have to add that time. You have to consider the holidays time of that person, and it can delay the delivery of your key IT or key intelligence topic. So you have to consider that when you are working correctly with the Kanban and tools like that. You consider this kind of bottlenecks to make sure that if you commit to 2 weeks to deliver a key IT, you consider everything in that, and you calculate that over time. You know, for a key IT, for example, you're taking three weeks. So if someone asks you to do it in 1 week, you can just say it's not realistic. It's not going to happen, because we know that it takes us 3 weeks. Not because we are lazy and we wait to the last 48 hours, but because you have other stakeholders and different steps that we know by experience, because we have our Kanban, we can't do in 1 week. So this kind of situations, Lean can really help with that, and make sure that yeah, we are working on the most important things. And yeah, a lot to say on that. It's really a good topic.
Well, so along the same lines, so all through the show, you talked a lot about influence or influencing, right? So what is, and you talk about communications, right? So what is the importance of developing communications and influencing skills for the CI professional?
Mhm. What I saw in my experience most of the time, we gather intelligence well, we analyze well, we communicated not so well, and it's a lot about how to say. And I learned that from communication. Two rules in communication: have something good to say and say it well. So the first part, I think we're good at. We have something good to say because we have the content, the substance. But how we convey the message, how we position ourselves in the organization, and even when we're presenting, we have the floor, we have the platform, and then it's like just showing facts, and people can just see the document. Sometimes they don't want even to attend to presentation because it's kind of well, let's say sometimes it's boring, sometimes it's not. We lose them sometimes because there's too much content. The story is not there. When I say story, it's the beginning to the end. Let's say start by defining, describing, and demonstrating, not starting directly to bits and bytes, things like that. For communication, that's just the first part. Influence is developing those people skills to make sure that we're not, for example, antagonizing anyone just because we disagree with the person. We know who are the stakeholders, and you have the Mendeley matrix, which can help a lot with that. I was mentioning before, the organization is not a hierarchy, it's a network of people, and you have people more connected than others. We have to understand those connections because even if we present something about a competitor talking about a feature, maybe how to say, it's not good news for some folks inside the organization, and we have to be careful about that. And how to say, for your stakeholders, they have their interest and they have their influence also, or power, and there are different ways to deal or to collaborate with those people. For some stakeholders, you just need to keep them informed. Others, you keep them satisfied. Others, you have to monitor closely, and others you have to work closely with because they will be promoters for CI and things like that. So it's not just even about communication; it's beyond that. Who's who in the organization? What's their interest in CI, and more. More than that, it's that subtype people skill that we need to develop. And I think even in influence, it's the confidence as CI professionals, because we have so much knowledge. I think we know most of the time more than anyone else in the organization, but still when it comes to presenting it, we are like hesitant and things like that, and people see it, and when they see it, it's not good for your credibility. So yeah, this is maybe building that confidence, and it can be learned. It can be learned. So I really believe that even influence and having the tools for that, are plenty of tools, but we have to get interested in being better communicators and influencers, not in the sense, let's say, social media and things like that, but more gray eminences inside the organization.
Eminence Grace. So
Yeah.
I think so. This is really the reason why I wanted to bring you to talk about your book today,
Mhm.
because I mean, first time we talked was about work stuff, but I could see in your book, I mean, in engaging with you, that you do have that specific quality. You
Thank
are a
you.
very good communicator. You certainly have something to say,
Thank
but
you.
you know how to say it. You're very clear, and that the audience is really liking. I have, Marjolaine here says, I want to share. I found this book gives me the best practice to manage and communicate any expertise knowledge. Not only good for CI knowledge, I learn a lot on how to give our knowledge the proper vehicle to get to stakeholders. So yeah, I think this is the audience sees that, the reader sees that. I have another one, from Mary here saying, "Wonderful interview. I will read your book." So it's
Oh,
captivating. I think you do a great
thank you.
job of communicating and first organizing your thoughts in a way that is academic, It's informative, but it's not boring. I mean, if you're boring, I probably wouldn't be talking to you because I think I'm
Well, thanks a
boring
lot.
enough. Enough of boring people. So let's
Thanks a
not
lot.
bring boring people to talk to anyone. So thank you. I think you do such a wonderful job. And I did save a question for last because Kai fired another one, and
Mhm.
really, so sorry,
I
one
think
question.
this one we saw it.
Yeah, we solved that one. So, what would you personally consider to be a really interesting CI question or problem for people to tackle?
I think, honestly, I will be knowing our own organization. That's the first and most important problem to tackle before knowing the competition or learning about the competition. And when I say that, what can make a competition beat us is us, not them. And there is a proverb for that. When there is no enemy within, the enemy outside can do us no harm. And I think really and this is, maybe you can ask people who I worked with. I always say we need to know ourselves, master everything about ourselves, our products, our processes, our customer satisfaction or frustration, everything. And then we can go to know about competitors, and we can have a real accurate comparison. Because if we just go, let's say, go to competitors reviews and say, hey, they are bad, they are not doing, their app is not good, etc. Well, if we didn't see our app, I mean, sometimes it's so for me it's just an example, but really I believe that we need to know our organization, our people, our products, and everything around it uh, better than anyone else inside our own organization. To that sense, I think I would say we are how to say well positioned to be the gray eminences with that knowledge that we develop, and we have to build it, not just be interested in it, document it wherever you have a conversation with people, etc., about products, etc. Okay, th- put it somewhere, because you will use it when you compare our product with competitors product or process or anything. So yeah, I hope it helps.
It certainly does. Well, thank you so very much for being here. Merci beaucoup pour votre présentation. Né? Shukran. Learuduka.
Shukran. Merci, and thank you, Ram, for this opportunity. It's always a pleasure to have the conversation with you, and I return the compliment because I think you're doing a great
Thank
job,
you.
honestly. Keeping that conversation around competitive intelligence and other topics with the magazine, with this platform. I'm sure in the future there will be more and more uh, people interested in what we are sharing here and what you are building here. So I wish you, not I wish you, I know you will have a lot of success in that. So thanks again.
Thank you so very much. It's wonderful as always to talk with you. So before we go, let me switch back because folks, let's take a look. So the competitive intelligence playbook: how to build, manage, and optimize a competitive intelligence program by Fouad Benyoub. And it is indeed available on Amazon.com. So please go visit Amazon and take a look. See if you have not gotten your copy yet. Still in time to get the competitive intelligence playbook. And again, Fuad, thank you so very much for taking time of your day to be with me and the guests today.
My pleasure, Ram, and
I
thank you
hope,
everyone for attending.
and I hope to see you soon.
Yeah, same here.
Thank you.
Hopefully. Thank you.
So let's go back to the agenda for a moment. So there we are. So we spoke with Fuad. I just checked to make sure there are no other comments or questions in there. I think we addressed all of the questions. But if you are watching us on a recorded event or as a podcast, you too can be part of the conversation. Please make sure you just go to our YouTube page and leave your comments, leave more comments, leave more questions. I know where Fuad is, and I think Mahesh is on his way to Malaga, or he's probably on the way to airport. But we can talk to him, and I can certainly follow up and make sure your questions are delivered, and they have great turnaround, so they will provide an answer as soon as possible. So I want to talk a little bit about the upcoming events. So what's up and coming? So on the 3rd, we'll welcome several good friends. So Jamie Burns and Karen Walker from ASU, Dr. Aslam from Palo Alto Networks, and Dr. Huang from Stanford. We're going to be talking about the university cooperation partnerships, how to make them work, how to get the best out of them. On December the 9th, it's going to be Sci-Fi Day. I'm going to welcome Dr. Tom Lombardo. He's going to be discussing this. He's got 2 new books, and he's the resident expert on sci-fi things. So how to use sci-fi to accomplish your business goals, right? On December the 17th, I will welcome Mexican futurist Alicia Baena. She's going to talk to us about the latest that she's doing. And after that, I will be welcoming Dr. Stefan Bergheim, who is the lead researcher at the ZGF Institute in Frankfurt. He's wonderful. I love talking with him. Always so much stuff, so much to learn. And then we will continue our talk on technology. So I know we talked about digitalization, so the metaverse, sustainability, and etc. Those are recurring themes and topics and things that you guys want to hear. So if you have other topics or comments or suggestions, or tell me what you'd like to talk about or what would you like to hear, please just reach out and let me know. I will be welcoming Joyce Gioia. She's the author of the Herman newsletter, a fantastic read as well. And Markets and Markets has several new upcoming events. They are roundtables, and they seem to be very interesting. So we'll be covering those as well. So I guess it's time for us to kind of say our goodbyes. I wanted again to thank you so very much for your presence and participation on the show today. I think that's the reason why I'm here. That's the reason why the guests are here. They want to talk to you. They want to hear your thoughts. They want to know what excites you. And of course, we want to know what else we want to talk about, because, what topics are interesting, right? You can certainly and always reach out to the magazine or to me, the host, via Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and of course via YouTube. I hope to see you soon on one of our next shows. And I'm going to leave you with our institutional message. Again, thank you so very much for attending the show today.